Yes, I can.
Cool. Okay, awesome. And I can hear it coming outside too.
Okay. And I'm going to adjust whites to 50%.
Cool.
So, Chris, have you met Josh? Josh, go stand in front of your camera for a second. Okay. I'm not going to be here on Wednesday, so Josh is me, and I'm sure he'll live up to all of the expectations of that.
Okay.
And I'm sure he'll surpass them, actually. So.
I don't know. You're.
Oh yeah, I am.
All right, so we got about 3 minutes before people are still coming in, I assume.
You're not supposed to send someone
Are we supposed to send you guys the presentations that we worked on over the weekend?
So what we're going to have you guys do for at least the first half of class is present them.
Okay.
So for each group, for each presentation, get it onto this computer, whatever, so basically I can see it, everybody can see it, and then we'll have you guys present. So whether that's a flash drive or emailing it to someone, I'm assuming a flash drive is going to be the easiest solution, but however, whatever you need to do to get it onto the computer, and then you guys can present. And that will be probably the majority of class. But I'll go over, I guess if you guys, as we're people are still coming in, you're getting ready, go ahead and put your presentations on some sort of flash drive or email it somewhere so that we can open it up on your computer.
So, how many groups do we have? I got Luisa's and Abby's. Hey Claire, do you have our groups? Okay. No, I was just wondering. So, so is it? So is it 5 groups? Yo.
That sounds right. Let's see.
Did you guys, or Louisa, where's Louisa's group? Louisa, did you guys want to just start while other people are signing up? Yes? Hey, do you guys just want us to start sending out with the first groups while we got 5? Okay.
Yeah, we can. I'm sure it'll take a minute to get set up anyway.
Okay.
Do you know how to share?
Yeah, there's a screen share. Okay. Do you guys wanna come up and do this first one?
Yeah. Teach them how to computer, Stephen.
John, I don't think I can give you bonus points in this, but I'll buy you a beer.
2 months.
I'll buy you a beer in 2 months. Alright.
You're also
I'll
presenting.
buy you a beer when it's back.
I don't know. Just read it off. It's the last one.
All right, car camping research.
Yeah.
Can you stop talking about your?
Is there a way we can make this smaller?
Wait, you have to
Wait.
just.
You
Wait,
did-
are we sharing the screen?
Yes. Okay. Well, I can see it. I can hear you guys. Just so everybody knows too, it should be about 5 to 7 minutes per group, roughly. Just so keep that in mind.
Our presentation should be.
Yeah.
Well, just the presentation, just so we can get through everybody and
So just do it quickly and effectively.
sure. Yes.
All right. So, car camping research.
Okay.
So the project objectives were to research that could help inspire tent design for the future, and the main, I guess, focuses were areas around purchasing the tent, and we were focusing on car campers and the experience setting up and taking down the tent, and their ideal tent, what they look for most in the camping experience, and then also barriers or pain points in the current situation of camping right now.
Okay, and for research methods, we went with the interest group discussions, and the benefits of it were to bring new perspectives and capture the latest facilities, quick and early discovery, revealing the different patterns that are popular. So the way we went about that is we went to online forums to try to look for groups on websites that were predominantly car campers, and then we started to approach the users and trying to find the users that would fit into the market category that we were exploring, and then we started contacting candidates based on that research to contact potential candidates that would fit into the target market.
So then for the interviews, we all interviewed a wide variety of people that all had different experiences with camping, but the overall type of person that we interviewed were predominantly car campers who camp multiple times a year, and they go camping recreationally at campsites or national parks, and they all own their own tents, so they know the whole researching and purchasing process, and they all have been camping a bunch of times, so they had a lot of insights to give us.
All right, and from those, from the different interviews, the insights that we gathered were that there were 3 categories that the interviewee said that could really be improved. One was comfort, and they were talking about how they want to feel physically and mentally comfortable when inside the tent. Another category was easy, talking about the setup of the tent and also being simple and intuitive to put together the tent and also take it down. And then social as well, with they want to have the option to be social or be disconnected from everyday life.
So the car camping process, we already went over this a little bit last class, but this is just an image of it. They buy it, transport it, set it up, use it, take it down, transport it, and store it again. And this infographic highlights the pain points of the process and other details like where they transport it in and different uses in the daytime and nighttime.
Nice.
So after looking at that, we summarized their ideal experience when camping and looked at what is more important versus the other. So we found that having it be an overall easy experience, having it be a comfortable experience, and then those were the main 2, and then social and clean was also very important, and then they slowly get less important but still incorporate into the ideal experience.
So after we collected the data and put it all together, we went through our findings and found what that meant for the design and why it was important. So just kind of like the main things was they cared about price and quality. So people should make things that are long lasting. They cared about safety. And a big thing for them was setup and efficiency. They just wanted to make it quick. And then like adaptability to different regions. And they wanted it neat inside by keeping their things outside and keeping things organized. So design things would help that and give that to the user. Alright. So then we like clearly put through the problems and then the solutions. So the durability problem with seams ripping and zippers breaking could be fixing the zippers to make them larger and the material to be stronger for the size, to adapt for less storage and make more storage, creating external storage, weather, increasing air circulation and keeping rain out, and then cleanup, just making it easier and quicker, and then storing, making it easier to take around. Got it?
And that summarizes our experience.
All right, great. I don't know if you guys noticed, I'm going to mute my mic during these presentations so it doesn't jump in. So you guys stay on screen.
Okay.
But awesome, yeah. I don't know, did Michelle give you instructions for what to do with like this report, the actual file?
No.
Okay, I'd say just email this to Max.
Okay.
Well, that seems like the easiest way to get it.
Sounds good.
All right, great job, guys.
Thanks.
Adrian. Okay. Producer Marsner.
Yeah. We thought that we were supposed to have, like, how we were going to do sections and stuff. We thought that was. Okay, so do you need to know what group this is, or like what group we are?
Yes.
Okay, we are Cinco.
Okay.
Squad.
Awesome. All right, Cinco Squad. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic, unless you guys have any other questions.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so this is our title page, and we have the, what is this called? Objective, of the project. And it's to conduct research and collect findings to provide REI with the basis to improve content design for car campers.
Alright, so we had a bunch of research methods throughout the whole project, breaking it down into the 3 steps: looking, understanding, and making. For looking, we just did general interviewing. Interviews lasted around an hour and a half. One of the things that I think we all benefited from the interviews was being able to like leave a space after they talked, so there's a little awkward silence, and they often felt the need to fill it in with something, and then that would lead to them giving us more information that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. For understanding, we did an experience diagram and concept mapping, and then we kind of consolidated all of that and connected certain things with affinity clustering. And then our making process, we kind of visualized everything into concept posters, and one of the benefits for this was just being able to see all this data consolidated into like showing which problems had a bigger magnitude.
Okay, so we just included the campers that we interviewed, and so here's their headshots, and then we put a little blurb about why they were chosen, or some specifics about them that kind of affected how the interview went. So for example, Ed, he's an Eagle Scout, so we included that, and some specifics about where they camp. A lot of them camp in West Virginia or national forest areas, and their average number of times they camp a year. So like Evan camps 3 to 4 times a year, Peter camps about like every 2 to 3 months. So that kind of affected the information that we got from them, so we wanted to know that going into it.
And these are some of our key insights. We started with a lot of them and then narrowed them down to the ones that were the most important. So we kind of just listed them on here and gave a little graphic to go next to them. So people want their tent to be versatile. People want an easy and clear setup and takedown. People want a tent that's organized and maximizes space, and they want a balance between quality and price. Something in the middle that doesn't sacrifice either price or quality.
So here's our ideal solution page. We basically split it up into two parts, mental and physical. We then used logos to identify the headings and ideal solution, and then we describe the subset categories.
And so this is our process, and we try to just break it down into like the main steps of just buying, transport, setup, use, takedown, and storing. And from there, we branched off into different subcategories. For example, under buying, there's the learning and selecting, and just trying to look into those different processes and what really goes into it and where the main pain points were. And we found is more towards actually at the end of the use, and takedown was most of the pain points. So that information was just somewhat helpful to us, just because instead of looking at the tent as a whole, it kind of helped narrow down more specific aspects. And then for our design implications, we took what some of the interviewees said and just tried to help the designers affect different aspects of the tent. Just how people always would mention a lot of times that their tent would always get wet, and a lot of times it would say waterproof, but it was more water resistant, and how they kind of felt a little let down by the companies at some point. So if you kind of make that so it's like if it's actually water or weatherproof, and other just small things that people mention, how they would either jerry-rig their own lighting system into the tent. That might be a good starting point for designers into incorporating light into the tent actual's design. So just looking at just different types here, and some other ones was not necessarily the use of the tent, but also the storage. A lot of people complain about the takedown was actually a little more difficult than the setup, and that was just due to the number of parts, and also a lot of people complain about the setup of poles. So it's just looking at that structure, not necessarily in use, but how it could be more easily used by the camper.
And then we thought that we were supposed to incorporate the sketches that we were going to do, so that's what we thought was going here, but obviously I think we're wrong now. So we'll fix that.
Right.
And then here's just kind of an overview of our team, some process pictures and the tools we used and our contact information.
All right, great. We're going to be working on those sketches today. You guys are just a little ahead.
Was that supposed to go there, or did we make that up? I don't know.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. It looks like you have, for the implications, it looked like those two look a little bit like the design recommendations. Add more storage inside. So yeah, taking those, turning those into, and then putting your designer hands into actually solving for these implications in the form of sketches and storyboards and what we're going to be doing. So you guys are just a little bit ahead, but we'll go over that next when everyone's done presenting.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Abby, do you guys want to go?
Oh, yeah.
Can you guys, am I really loud?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Max is telling me I have an echo, but I don't know what to do about it. So we're just going to deal with it.
He's not here. That's what you get now.
All right. So our objective was to conduct a research study that would help us design and improve portable shelter for our future car campers.
This is Danny with Angels?
Yeah, Danny with Angels.
Daniel's Angels. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going on mute.
So just giving like some insight in our team, team of 6 that are just conducting research about the existing camping or tent camping experience and how can we improve upon that.
So the research methods we used, first under the main research methods of generative, which is like looking for information and evaluating that information that we got from the generative. So we one of the things that we did was stakeholder interviews when we interviewed people who were relevant to the market. So within stakeholder interviews, we did ethnographic, which is just like asking them questions, and participatory when we gave them the images and stuff like that, so that they could, participate and they could show us specifically what they wanted for their tent camping. And then after we got all that information, we started to evaluate it by looking at our notes, coding our data, making user maps, and all of the models that we made. To analyze that information and basically put it into like something where we can go forward with it to look for how we can improve future designs.
So we also just showed the 3 people that we interviewed, and then just a little bit about them. So we put like when, like how often, and like what times of the year they go camping. And that's basically just what we had for those guys.
So some of the key research insights, we kind of have like an overall, phrase that kind of broke down into 5. And just like stating a problem, today's tents are falling off in the areas of comfort, safety, and cost, and the process of setting up and taking down. And breaking those down into kind of like 5 categories from there. People camp to have an experience with their friends and family that is disconnected from electronics. Compartments and storage play a big role in keeping the interior and exterior of their tent clean. And then having these options gives the campers more ways to organize and personalize their shelters. And another one was they want their experience to be comfortable and to keep outside elements from entering their shelter. And keeping their tent clean and safe is of utmost importance. And so kind of breaking down those like major areas that we've kind of found from the comfort, safety, and then the takedown process.
So for the process, we mapped it out to show where there are opportunities, where there are pain points, and then also just made note of what users' current habits were. So our diagram here shows that there's usually a one-time buying process, and then after you have that tent, you do the blue activity over and over again until you go to buy a new tent. So we had insights about all of the different areas from transporting to storing. They're a little hard to read on here, but we made note of what the pain points were, and then we carried those through the rest of our research. And in our ideal solution, we noted that the 2 main factors that people really wanted to have in their tents were they wanted to have it be comfortable, and they wanted it to support their social camping experience. And then other factors that people also mentioned were that they wanted it to be a reasonable price, and they wanted their tent to be eco-friendly. Okay, and then what we decided after doing all our research was what people who want size, they want a better maximum occupancy with storage and comfortable environment, easy setup, sense of safety, and clean and organized. They want a durable tent so they don't have to keep going out and buying a new one. That's about it. Yeah. Yay. Okay. Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Chris?
Hello?
Hello?
There we go. Okay. All right. Awesome.
I think you're going to do other tips. So you got to cross.
Okay, so we are a hashtag girl power, and this is just what we found through our research throughout this whole process of researching. So our main objective was to
find what inspires tent designs and find like really good inspiration for fall 2017 tent designs and maybe even like future innovations for the product and packaging. Understanding the user's needs and wants, their current pain points and barriers, and what they kind of wanted to see in their future tent if they could have it in an ideal world. So we really focused on the why people choose to camp, and what really affects their purchasing decisions. Understanding the context of where shelters fit into their specific experience, and really identifying and honing in on those barriers and pain points, and how we could probably fix them in the future. And really focusing on ideal car camping solutions and finding shelters that work for those experiences. And really what was easy, what people consider easy to set up, and finding more information about the setup and takedown process as well.
Cool. So the research methods that we used, we started with interviews. We identified and spoke with those frequent car campers, and then conducted in-person interviews. We did activities with them, with the picture matching, to kind of understand their perspectives. And then after that, we also did some hands-on interaction, asking them to assemble and disassemble their tent, where they store it, took pictures of that and videoed the process. We could go back and observe it, and to identify other maybe unspoken pain points and difficulties that existed. The people that we use is just, okay, the user profiles, these are the people that we interviewed. We just kind of put how often they camp, when they camp, where they camp, who they usually go with, and then anything interesting that might set them apart. And so, for example, Ben car camped across the U.S. for summer. Alex and Adam have secondary uses for tents, other than just pure camping. So Adam usually uses it for like Relay for Life, or other things for organizations he was in, and then Alex talked a lot about how he sometimes keeps it in his trunk and then uses it as cross-country meets.
Okay, so for key insights, we narrowed it down to 4 main points. Number 1 was pretty much comfort, that they basically didn't feel secure or safe physically or mentally, and they would like to have a place in the tent where they were had a good night's rest, or they kept dry from like the weather and stuff like that. Setup was another pain point, that today the instructions were really hard. There's too many instructions, and once they're out there, it's really confusing that they don't have help, and that there's just way too many pieces that we needed, like poles. Third one's probably organization, that apparently a lot of tents nowadays lack it, and that there's limited storage, and they would wish that there was more probably like built-in options, or places where they can put stuff. And the last one is they want inexpensive. Pricing was a very big idea, that they wanted something that was affordable yet durable.
Okay, so then we took the user journey, and then we broke it down to pre-trip to post-trip, and then underneath that, we took the specific activities like buying a tent, to setting up a tent, and then to storing a tent, and then the little teardrops show the specific processes within those subcategories, like selecting the tent, and then actually buying it, and then transporting it, and then some of the teardrops have a red lining over it, which indicates that they have pain points, and then underneath some of those list the specific pain points that are ranked from high, medium, and low based on their colors. And then the dotted lines underneath some of the bubbles, I think, portray that they can go in a circular pattern.
So based on the data that we collected from our interviews and our classmates, we subgrouped all this data into I think 8 different categories, and we based it off of how many times that each kind of was mentioned. And so we have comfort being the category that was a main kind of ideal group that they really wanted in their future tent, as well as easy to set up, assembly, accessibility, things of that nature. And things like eco-friendly and price were mentioned a couple times, but not really as frequently as those. And each of these categories are kind of, the more important ones are bigger, with the pyramids, and they kind of lead up to the ideal solution.
All right, and we had some detailed findings, and we just kind of sorted these and made the main ideas bolder, where we found our users' main priority was physical and mental comfort. They wanted setup and disassembly to be a lot easier because it's their greatest stress. They needed a tent with more reliable hardware, including the zippers and the tent poles, just so they didn't break when they got out to their site. They wanted tent options with built-in organization for the tent storage and also for within their tent. They wanted more forward-thinking technological designs, and they really wanted to see that in their ideal solution that we talked about. And a lot of our users talked about having kind of a cool tent that feels personal and it embodies how they identify as a car camper and as a camper in general. So some of our recommendations for these categories were just to look at weatherproofing, look at locking mechanisms for the tent itself, making the design easy to set up, provide a lighting source, design zippers that don't get stuck, just kind of mobilize the user to organize our tent spaces with our design, include the latest and greatest materials, and design an aesthetically pleasing exterior that the user would be happy with, and maybe even provide customizable components. And obviously there's more recommendations, and there's a lot of process that we will go through when designing a tent after our research. So yeah, that was our presentation.
Great. All right, thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Hello, we're DJ Ben. It's an acronym for all of our names. I don't know if you knew that or not.
You did say that. I do remember you saying that.
Okay.
So, kind of giving an introduction. Basically, we just explained that car camping is pretty popular pastime for a lot of people, especially in America. And obviously, there's a lot of things you can improve through the experience. And essentially, this research is meant to generate information about the user's experience while camping with tents, drive-on camping, and essentially like influence future design. So yeah. So for our research methods, we generally stuck to discussion-based interviews with interviewees who had drive-in camped pretty recently. Another couple things we did were word cloud formation exercises and imagery recognition and arrangements, which essentially lay some predefined images or words that the user can associate with certain feelings or experiences they have. We did this basically, for example, the interview is the easiest form of information collection because it's a conversation and just allows us to cleanly and easily converse with the user about their experience and document certain aspects of their user journey. The word cloud and imagery recognition were also used to kind of describe things that users were not able to communicate as well verbally. And yeah, we essentially documented and recorded all of the users' fine details about their user journey and experience.
So these are the three people that our group interviewed. Is it Rohan? Who's that?
Yeah, Rohan.
Rohan, Agrima, and Ladney. It's three different names. So they're all friends of friends. Ladney's an experienced car camper. All of them camp at least once a year. All of them, actually, multiple times. And they were easy to meet within the constraints of the project. Oh, shoot. So this was kind of our sales pitch, that we found that car campers weren't comfortable with their tents, both physical and psychological reasons. The lack of tangible safety measures, the evidence that current tents don't provide enough physical comfort from inclement weather. Those were pain points, and the lack of disconnection to their normal lives and social atmosphere to fellow campers prescribed with the tent they have shows that there's opportunity in this area. And we went on to say that the magnitude of these problems puts unnecessary stress on the user group to the point where it may dissuade them from partaking in camping activities, using our product, or buying our product altogether. So we came up with different ideal solutions to solidify the camping experience as a fundamentally social experience, so that campers spend more time with their fellow adventurers and family. The layout solution would promote space consciousness, cleanliness, organized storage arrangements. It would also allow for the campers to become isolated and promote camping as a vacation or a therapeutic experience. And these solutions allow the user to feel safer inside of their tent, as well as provide peace of mind when they are away from their tent.
Okay, so after we collected all of our data, what we did was we tried to create two models, a process model and an ideal solution model. This is the process model that we're looking at right now. Underneath is just a breakdown of each step, and the graphics kind of show where the biggest pain points are, and those are mostly in transport and definitely setup and takedown.
Okay, this is our ideal, ideal solution model. It shows the how big of a idea it was based on like the size of the font and whatnot, and it kind of combines things by showing a connection between the two. Like climate control would fall under comfort, and same with safety would fall under comfort, with waterproof being one of like the main, or being the thing under safety. And this shows how everything's kind of related to each other in the ideal tent solutions people had. And then these were our findings and design implications. We just found that the users mainly enjoyed relaxing and participating in activities such as hiking, and they like to be closer to nature and socialize. And our user behavior just explains the process of like how they set up and what they do at a campsite, and how that would affect their shelter situation, like what they'd want in a tent. And then this is their like pain points. On the left is that they had found tents difficult to set up, that they thought that there was poor waterproofing in many of the tents, and that tents are too expensive but not very durable. And then we go on to talk about what they suggested for ideal car camping shelters, which is the weatherproofness and the comfort and the less parts to make it easier to set up. And then we define what people actually considered easy to set up, such as it being like a simple and intuitive process that wouldn't require any directions and would use the minimal amount of effort and time, so that they had more time for other activities, such as, well, hiking or whatever else they wanted to do.
Okay, so these are some design directions that we thought of after seeing these issues, and it's based on each category. And I'll just say some of them. One thing is maybe developing a flat pack tent that you can fold out and then just fold back in a really simple manner. And there's a lot of new technologies in like 3D printing, solar energy, and just materials in general that you can work with. So maybe researching in on those and seeing what you can do. Like maybe, for example, there's like a thin strand type thing that has like solar panels on it, and you could attach that to your storage for the tent, and then throughout the day that'll receive sunlight and get energy, and at night you'll use that to power your tent if you need to do certain things like control the climate or what's it called? Something else, but I cannot find it right now. So yeah. And this is the last page.
Okay, thanks. Alright, do we have one more group?
No.
Or is that it? Alright, yeah, so everyone just go ahead and have somebody from your group email those presentations to Max. And Michelle and I will try to get you guys any feedback that we have to you at some point this week.
Hey Chris, do you want us to send Max what we did today, or do you guys want us to make changes to it from the recommendations?
Send what you did today, and then we'll spend a little bit more time. Like I was taking little notes here and there, but I think I didn't have enough time really to read through. Like you guys had a lot of information on those presentations, so I'd like to spend a little bit more time reading them and stuff. And that way we can give you a little bit better feedback.
Okay.
So yeah, so send what you have today. We'll give you feedback on that. I'm not sure exactly what Michelle is thinking in terms of getting that having you guys revise it. I think we're gonna continue move on. I think it looks great. We're gonna kind of continue on to the next phase, which is gonna be you're gonna take off your researcher hats and put on your designer hats just for a minute, and come up with some solutions in order to evaluate them, which is kind of the next research section that we're going to be jumping into. Do you guys have any questions before I kind of show you guys what we'll be doing next? Nope. Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen with you. All right. Okay. So the next phase, we're going to be dealing with evaluating ideas, but we don't have any ideas yet. So this is a little bit out of date. So today, which would be day one here, we're not going to be doing or testing the use case scenarios. We're just going to be I'm going to have you guys start brainstorming ideas. So you're going to start thinking about your design recommendations and start thinking of concepts to solve the problems that you've identified and deliver the benefits that you've discovered. So for each team of 6, what we'll do is we'll have split in half again, so it'll be 2 teams of 3, and each one of those teams will come up with 3 concepts each. So what it comes down to is 1 concept a person. So based off of your design criteria, recommendations, and just the research findings, the high-level findings coming out of your presentations of your research, you'll kind of sketch out some different potential solutions. You don't have to. They're meant to be inspirational, so you don't have to. Don't worry about like trying to solve for all of them in one design. You can pick whatever makes sense to you. So if you had some design principles, for instance, if it's like design, the material of the tent, like the bottom of the tent, so they can be on rough surfaces, or it can be put anywhere. You don't have to then incorporate all of the other design recommendations into that one solution. You can kind of pick and choose based off of your own design background, your own design needs, what you want to include in each concept. But so basically one concept a person. We'll have 3 for each group. So we'll go ahead and so if you guys aren't in your teams, go ahead and split off in your teams of 3, and we'll start generating ideas based off of your design principles. Some good places to reference if you guys need some place to look is in the design book, the research book, the 5.1 Principles to Opportunities, or the ideas session. And so we'll just go ahead and we'll spend some time, I think 7 minutes brainstorming, and then afterwards we'll go ahead and I'll tell you what we're going to be doing next. So if you guys have any questions, you can ask them now or throughout. I'll just be here, so we can kind of have a discussion. Let me know what if you need anything, or if you have anything you need from me.
For brainstorming, do you want like sketches or just like thoughts and words?
They can be either, whatever makes the most sense. So what you'll be doing next will be the concepts that you'll decide on. So I guess at this point, you're probably all very familiar with the ideation. So right now you're ideating. You're designers, you're ideating. You have all this research in front of you. Now you get to just throw out as many ideas as you can. So what you'll be doing is just deciding, get as many ideas out of your head as you can, and then as your group of 3, pick the 3 best ones you think that you want to move forward with. And so at this point, good rules of brainstorming is just really no bad ideas. Once you get into your group of 3 and you can figure out which ones are best and which ones you want to use, then you can kind of start being a little bit more critical. But at this point, just kind of get those ideas out of your head. It could be sketches, ideas, whatever. The next step will be creating communication tools. So you'll take that idea, we'll create storyboards with it. And the idea being is you're gonna take this idea or this concept. We'll just take one, for example, and you'll be presenting it in front of somebody, and so and then you'll be gauging their reaction. So we'll be evaluating, is this idea good or bad, based off of somebody who's not familiar with it. And so I'll get into more detail once we get into evaluation side of things. But just for now, we'll just start the brainstorming process. All right. Does that make sense? Everyone know what we're doing? Ready to go? Okay. All right. So go ahead and get in your groups. I'll give you guys what time is it? I'll give you 7 minutes, and just kind of get those ideas that you have.
Sketch. I would sketch. But I didn't know this was happening. Just start.
No, but we need groups.
Do that. Yeah, you cannot brainstorm with your back to your team members. That's simple.
We're splitting up. Yeah.
I'm just saying, for anybody who's sitting with their back to their team members, you cannot brainstorm in that method.
There, I'll flip to the slide so you guys can see.
You cannot do all the camera. Specifically, you cannot do it while doing camera. I'm not doing camera. Okay, you've been doing camera for the last 20 minutes. Yeah, I've been watching you. That's right now. Now you can do something.
Yeah, I did. What I say that I put them together. Okay, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we got about a minute left. Alright, if you have any ideas, go ahead and wrap them up now. Do you guys have any questions before we move on to the next step?
No.
Nope, good? Okay. Alright. Share my screen. Okay. So what we'll be doing is you'll be deciding in your groups of 3 which three ideas you want to move forward with. And so once you figure out which ideas are the best ones or the ones you want to move forward with, the next step is presenting them at an appropriate level. So figuring out how to present these ideas so that they're communicated clearly, you can get good information back. So the basic idea is before you kind of go too far in a design or a design direction or with a concept is to get feedback along the way. So throughout the design process, from the initial spark of an idea to the actual project, like the end process, you're getting continual feedback in from people who would be potentially using the products, or just people can give you feedback so that you can make adjustments as you design, so that you know that the final design will be take all those things into account. And it really helps avoid any major changes or real recalculations at the end. You can present early concepts to see if people see value in it or are intrigued by an idea. As designers, we might think something is a really awesome or amazing idea, but then unfortunately you put it in front of people and they might not be so excited about it, which kind of sucks, but then it's a lot better than actually finalizing a design, it going into production, and then finding out nobody likes it or wants it. So getting that feedback and getting good feedback too, so talking to the right people matters. So presenting the idea in an appropriate format. At least initially, like you guys are just kind of sketching out ideas. They're pretty rough. They're just conceptual in your head. You might have some sketches on paper. At this point, you can either kind of present an idea verbally or in text. So just saying, going to even like the participants that we talked to, if you went to them and said, hey, here's, we compiled the data, we're thinking about different ways or things to move forward with. How do you feel about this idea? Does this feel important to you? Does this resonate with what you were talking about when we interviewed you? They might be able to tell you, oh yeah, that's great. Or talking to other people who we didn't interview to see if they share the same desires or benefits the people you did talk to do. The next area, so that's more or less why it exists. So why do people want what you're designing? What it does. So thinking about the capabilities of the function of it, presenting in a low fidelity sketches or storyboards. So that's what we're going to be focusing on for this at this point. I think we have a pretty good idea just from the research, talking to people, what they want, so that those ideal solutions focused on comfort or the social aspect, we know that they want those things. So the next step is to figure out, are these solutions that we're dreaming up, are they delivering those benefits? Are they, if we're focusing on some sort of solution or some design that is going to make it more social, it's going to make that experience more social, let's kind of sketch out a scenario in a storyboard form and put it in front of people and see, does our idea make them feel? Does it make them feel like this would be a more social experience? Are we headed in the right direction? The next step would be how it works. So thinking about the actual functionality or interactions presented in high fidelity sketches like renderings, storyboards, or prototypes. Actually having something physical that someone can get a better idea of not just why it exists, what it does, but how it actually works. And then the next level of fidelity is how it looks. So thinking about the actual aesthetic of whatever you're designing. So really high fidelity is much more finished renderings or prototypes. The people will get a much better idea of what this thing will look like, act like, be like if it was an actual product. One thing that's really important is to make sure that whatever you do, whatever stage you're at, you represent your ideas and your concepts at the appropriate level. So what that means is if all you have is, like at this point, if you have a rough sketch, don't try to make it look too pretty. Don't make it try to look too finished, or else the feedback you might get might be biased to someone saying, I don't like the way it looks. That's, that design doesn't look cool or high tech. And that's really not what you were going for. Like, yes, eventually it will look cool, it will be high tech, but really what you want to get feedback on is, are these functions, are these features that we're designing, are they even the right direction to go to before we even think about what it should look like? Is the solution making things more social or more comfortable? Once we move on and we get to a point where we know that something people want, they're interested in, we've got the functions down and know that they delivers those benefits. We've kind of tested out the functionality, so we know that it'll work well for them. It's not going to create more issues or other things that we haven't maybe thought about. Then we can focus on actual putting a aesthetically good looking product in front of someone and getting even more rich feedback. So what we're going to be doing, we'll start today, and then for Wednesday you guys should have 3 storyboards each, 1 per concept. When I say each, I mean teams of 3. So each team of 3 will have 3 storyboards, each storyboard representing a concept. And so we'll identify 1 concept or use case to portray per storyboard, write a rough narrative describing what is seen, what's happening in any dialogue, divide the narrative into 3 to 6 frames, place any dialogue in the frames and edit it down so you have room for visuals. So thinking narratively initially. So here's my idea. If I were to tell someone, describe this to someone, how would I do that? So kind of writing that out, and then also we will be sketching out visuals. Any visuals will help you communicate that idea. And then only showing what is necessary too. So if you put too much detail into them, again, any extra detail might get people focused on the wrong thing. So you really want to focus on what is it, what is the idea I'm trying to get feedback on, and making that the focal point. Let's see. Okay. So at this point, let's see. Storyboards up. Okay. So do you guys familiar with when I say storyboards? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I think we're on the same page, but just to show you guys some examples, I just Googled storyboards, so hopefully these are all appropriate. I have no idea. But the whole idea is just like in a comic strip, or if you guys have ever taken any film or classes where you've created storyboards, essentially you're creating a narrative, so you're telling a story. And so you're going to kind of tell the story of your idea, your concept, to convey this idea to someone. There's different levels of fidelity for storyboards, but the basic components are the same. If we pull this one up, I don't know what this says, but basically you have the frame, you have the kind of the narration underneath. In this case, this is really rough, but the idea being you're breaking this idea down into multiple steps to explain the concept. Let's see, look at this one here. It's a little bit more finalized storyboard. Let's see. And so for each concept, you want to think about what it is about the concept I'm trying to communicate. So what features it has, what benefits it delivers, kind of making that clear, either that be through the visuals or through the dialogue. You can use those as the two kind of main tools that you have. There might be some features or some like an action or something that might make more sense to kind of draw like an arrow or something showing like a motion. Whereas there might be some things that makes more sense just to talk about, like saying setup, when I set up my tent, rather than kind of drawing out the entire process. You could just kind of describe it in words. So figuring out, here's my concept, what's the best way to, what should I write, and what should I show visually. Let's see. So I guess we'll go ahead, and we don't have necessarily an activity outline for today, but go ahead and in your groups kind of figure out which ideas you want to move forward with. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, you guys don't necessarily have to have these by the end of class today, but just by Wednesday, having these storyboards ready. So sometime between now and Wednesday, making sure you've identified which ideas you want to move forward with, and then developing the storyboards for. So Wednesday, what we'll be doing is going over how to present the ideas. Let's see if I can kind of go into here. So you'll be taking storyboards and putting them in front of people and talking about getting feedback based on your ideas and your concepts to kind of help you determine whether, what do I need to tweak, what needs to change, or if I need to, scrap it and go to another idea altogether, or who knows. But I'll be going over this. Well, so Wednesday will be the bulk of the lecture on the evaluative portion of things. So today we're just focused on making sure that you guys have what you need in order to start creating the storyboards. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. So it's one per person?
Yes. So you can, in your teams of 3, it comes out down to 1 per person. You can divide that up however you'd like. Essentially how it's going to be is each team of 3 will be responsible for 3 storyboards. So if you want to have, somebody writing all 3 and then someone drawing all 3 and someone else doing something else, that's fine. You can kind of divide it up however you'd like, whatever makes the most sense for your group.
Do they have
Sorry, go ahead.
Do they have to look cohesive, or if each of us draw, if each of us have our own style, or someone does on the computer versus?
They don't have to look cohesive. I wouldn't worry too much about them looking the same. I think so. The idea, what we will be doing after we go over all the different ways of how to evaluate, is you'll be giving in your larger team of 6, you'll be getting together and giving your storyboards. You'll be trading. So 3 of you will be trading with the other 3, and so you'll be taking someone else's concepts and going and talking to other people about them. And so what's the most important thing, rather than them looking the same, is that you're clearly communicating. So if you guys, if you're not around to describe or give more detail on your idea or your concept, you need to make sure that it's all there, it's all clear. It's kind of like a good portfolio. You're going to be, your design portfolio, you're going to be handing off to companies and things. You're not going to be around to describe all the different things in it. You want that to kind of speak for itself. So the same idea here. You want your storyboards to kind of, you want them to describe and clearly communicate your ideas without you having to be there to kind of add to it. Especially considering that part of the reason for giving it to someone else to test is that when you go talk to people to get their feedback, you want them to criticize your ideas. You don't want them to think that you're going to be offended if they say something bad, because then you're not going to get good criticism. They're going to try to make you feel good about your design. So the idea is that you're not the designer of this. You want honest and open feedback. And so that being said, you're not going to be able to kind of go into describing in in detail. You're going to have to let the storyboards speak for themselves. Or the sketches, I should say.
What about the groups of 5?
Good question. I guess I'd say for the groups of 5, so you'll split into teams of 2 and 3. If you can do, if the team of 2 can do 3 ideas, great. If you do 2, that's all right too. Yeah.
Are we going to be taking these storyboards back to the people that we interviewed?
No, not necessarily. So we'll be talking about, so next week we'll be talking about kind of the criteria for who to put these in front of, because you don't want to just put it in front of anybody. But the idea really is to, all right, so you've talked to these people and we got their feedback. Now we probably most interested in finding out, does this represent everyone, right? Does it represent other people? Like, we have this theory that we know what, if we design this product, it hopefully will solve, will be beneficial for more than just the people we talk to, right? It'll be a larger population. So ideally we'll be talking to people like them, I think, but not specifically them. We'll go into more detail about that on Wednesday, but these interviews are going to be a lot shorter. They're only going to be like 15, 20 minutes each. You're really going to be putting this storyboards in front of somebody and asking them really specific questions and collecting feedback, and then that's it. So they're much less involved than the generative interviews.
Do we have to give these people your cards too?
I'm not sure. I'll let you know on Wednesday. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'll be here for the next. I think we got 5 minutes left. So you just go ahead and ask a question. But otherwise, I think that was it for today.
Okay, Chris. So on Wednesday, make sure you call in for Josh, because I won't be here.
Okay. All right. So I think we're all in the same hangout. So whenever I hit call, it just automatically sends a call.
Oh, okay.
So he is in the hangout. So he will get a call. You might also get a call if you're on the computer.
I'll be in a lecture.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to hear an author speak.
Okay. All right. Well, then, don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. Done early then. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Hey, hey, Josh. Hey, Josh.